Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Surprise Jab Podcast. I'm your host, Zach Ruger, surprising you with new topics every single week and jabbing you with your daily dose of UFC. It's Thursday. It's November 16th. The month is halfway over. I mean, oh my gosh, my fall semester of my junior year of college almost coming to an end. Only about 3 weeks left. It's crazy how fast time flies by, guys. I mean, it's amazing. It's been an amazing semester, been a good year. 2023 has been a very solid year. A lot of good. The downs have not been that often, but yeah. We're here with a fun episode today, of course, previewing UFC Vegas 82, also known as UFC Fight Night, Brendan Allen versus Paul Craig. UFC Vegas 82, if no one knows, is the 82nd event at the UFC Apex in Las Vegas. So UFC Vegas 82. This started during COVID when they started having events at the Apex because they couldn't have anyone at the event. So now they still do them, which kind of sucks because arena events are way better, but we get UFC nonetheless. So that will be going down this Saturday night. We got like 13 or I think 14 fights as of now before the weigh-in. So we'll be breaking down every single one of those and giving my prediction as well. A weekly thing until January or February or even like December. The NFL, we're in week 11 now. I'll be dropping all my predictions for all the matchups in week 11, looking at what I need fantasy-wise from some of the players. Should be fun. And also our surprise edition of this episode is I will be ranking my top 10 TV shows. Stay tuned for that. That's going to be a fun segment. Of course, checking in with some leagues, talking about some other stuff in life, and all sorts of stuff here on the Surprise Jab Podcast. But yes, it's been a pretty good week. Today, I actually had to tabling for my company, Ever-Growing Co. If no one knows, this semester I've been in this integrated business experience, this IBE program at Minnesota State Mankato, where I basically start a small company with a bunch of other students, and it's been super fun. We already broke even, but now we spent money to try and make more money back because we have to donate it to charity, and we want our donation to be higher. But it's been an absolute blast. I've been able to go on the news, do radio interviews, talk to more people than I've ever talked to in my life. It's just been a blast. So yeah, if you guys want to go to Evergrowing.co, IBE.com, you could pick one of those up. You could DM me about it, or you can even look at the Instagram, because I partially, or pretty much mainly me, run the Instagram, which is super fun. I met some amazing people in the class, and yeah, made some connections that will never go away. But yeah, check out our company. We sell hoodies, 3 different, I was going to say styles, but colors. We sell charcoal, which is just like a gray, tan, which is like a cream, and the pine green, it's just a green. It's they're all very good. All profits go to Mankato Youth Place in Mankato. So check that out if you guys have time. And honestly, if you buy one and you come back here and you tell me what's a code word I can use, the code word will be Sopranos. If you just DM me, text me Sopranos, I'll buy you a gift of some sort. I'll shoot you a Venmo for some money just to see if anyone actually listens to this and goes on to do that. So if anyone buys a sweatshirt and comes back and uses the word Sopranos, that will be I'll shoot you a gift of some sort. But without a doubt, let's just get right into it. Should be a nice chill weekend. I do have a lot of assignments, a lot of papers, a lot of essays I have to write to round out my semesters, as well as some exams. But that's all for the future. As for now, we're talking about UFC. So let's check it out with some new fights, some new announcements of sorts. Before we get into any of the fights, no big ones really, just some smaller ones. UFC Shanghai, which is supposed to go down in Shanghai, China on December 9th, has actually been canceled due to some, I don't know if it was scheduling issues with something, just the event fell through. I don't know the exact details about it, but that event has now been moved to Las Vegas, I'm assuming at the Apex. The main event, of course, top 15 bantamweights, Song Yadong and Chris Gutierrez in the main event. The card itself is not that strong, all right? There's not many good fights on the card. I mean, just going now to look at what the UFC has on their official page, they only have Song Yadong versus Chris Gutierrez listed. So I don't know what other fights are going to be official for that, but as of now, number 14, Chris Gutierrez, number 7 ranked Song Yadong in the bantamweight division will be fighting on that date. Hopefully it doesn't get canceled. But yeah, shame. It would have been a fun event, but they just didn't have that many big hitters. And you have a women's champion, Zhang Weili, who is Chinese, and you also have a number 2 ranked contender in that division, Yan Xiaonan. That would have been the perfect main event for a Chinese pay-per-view. Not pay-per-view, but just fight night in general. So shame that one's not going through. But we have gotten some minor fight announcements to talk about. So one of them being Alishakab Karizov will be taking on Mahmoud Muradov February 3rd at an unannounced location, but it should be a fight night February 3rd. Alashkabab, the Black Wolf Karizov, is 14-0. He finished his UFC debut in round 1 earlier this year. Dude's an absolute killer. He should be fun to watch. And as for Mahmoud Muradov, he's coming off a dominant win over Brian Barberena. This guy's 4-2 in the UFC, 26-8 professionally. From Uzbekistan. Karizov is from Russia, so we get a little international fight. I hope that February 3rd card is in Minnesota. I really have faith that it will be, but it would be pretty cool if they did that. Another fight announced is Themba Gorimbo versus Kiefer Crosby. If no one knows who Themba Gorimbo is, he is actually the fighter who The Rock, that's right, The Rock Dwayne Johnson, gifted a house. I saw a segment about that. The Rock was posting about it, who actually went on the Joe Rogan podcast. I'll have to check out that episode. But Themba finally getting another fight. He's 1-1 in the UFC, coming off a big win. 11-4 professionally. He moved from Zimbabwe. He's just a stand-up guy, the definition of just hard work, chasing a dream. I mean, he has all his goals written on just like a normal scratch piece of paper. He tapes it up. But yeah, The Rock gifted him a house. It was incredible story. Very much like that. Big fan of Themba Gorimbo. He'll be taking on Kiefer Crosby, who trains at the same gym in Ireland as Conor McGregor. So he's part of that team there at SBG Ireland. He did lose his UFC debut earlier this year. Actually, that might have been at UFC 293 in September in Australia, which was the event he lost at. But, he's 10-4 professionally, and he actually holds a win over Alex Oliveira, former UFC fighter. So should be cool to see that fight. That fight goes down February 3rd as well. Any other interesting ones? Nice one at middleweight between Brad Tavares and Gregory Rodriguez. Brad Tavares has been a staple of the division for a while, was ranked in middleweight for a time. He had fight nights. He's fought Adesanya. He's fought Robert Whittaker. He's fought just about all the top guys. Dricus du Plessis he recently fought. Now he's coming off a loss to Bruno Silva, knocked him out in round 1, but he's back though, 20-8 professionally, 15-8 in the UFC. So I mean, this guy, 23 fights in the UFC. This will be his 24th. His biggest wins probably over. He's actually coming off a win over Chris Weidman. I forgot about that fight. So yes, Brad Tavares is coming off of a win. But it's not easy seas for him when you're good. He'll take on Gregory RoboCop Rodriguez, also known as Violent Obama. Looks like Obama, looks like RoboCop. I have no idea. He's got some goofy nicknames. He's 14-5 professionally, 5-2 in the UFC. Wins over Julian Marquez, Gideon Chukwu, and Junyoung Park. I mean, he's had fight of the nights. He's had performance of the nights. Gregory Rodriguez is a top guy who honestly, I'm being serious. He could contend with some of the top 15 guys. I mean, I'd pick Gregory Rodriguez over Chris Curtis, probably Kelvin Gastelum, Jack Hermanson. I mean, we're up to the number 9 ranked guys now in middleweight. So Gregory Rodriguez, super good. That fight goes down February 10th at an unannounced location. So could be a UFC 298, could be a fight night. We'll see. I mean, 2024 is creeping up on us. I mean, man, just the year is flying by, and it makes me sad. It makes me sad just because of I'm aware how good this year's been. I'm aware of how good life is right now, and it always makes me kind of emotional when the times change. But that's just life. There's nothing to do about it. God's got us, and everything will be fine. Last fight that was announced, courtesy of Big Marcel. I mean, he's the guy that knows everyone. He's like the Woj of the MMA world. Woj, he drops a bunch of NFL news all the time. Jasmine Jasu Davis versus Priscilla Cachoeira going down at UFC 297 in Toronto, Ontario, Canada, January 20th. Jasmine is just a very popular Canadian fighter. She's on the rise in the women's flyweight division. Happy to see her fight. She's 3-2 in the UFC, 9-3 professionally, but always like seeing the Canadian fighters get on the card. As for Priscilla Cachoeira, look, she gets wins over like Shayna Dobson, June Young Park, Ariane Lipsky, but then anytime she's faced with a ranked opponent, she loses. But Priscilla Cachoeira, very tough fighter, 4-4 in the UFC, 12-4 professionally. She's from Brazil. She'll be fighting her, at 297, which should be a great event. It is. That card is just actually shaped up, looking so good. We get 2 title fights. I mean, Jan Blachowicz, Alexander Rakic. You get Mike Mallet, Neil Magny, Mosvar Evloev, Arnold Allen. That card is going to be worth the money. But yeah, other than that, no other fights, no other changes to any upcoming cards. But if we do, we will cover it here on the Surprise Jab Podcast. Let's do a little check-in with our NBA and our NHL league. See how everyone's doing. I know my Timberwolves have been, have been hot. Timberwolves 8-3. They did lose. They lost their last game. Wow, I didn't even know that. Their first conference loss of this season. Poor Timberwolves, but they're still third in the West with a record of 8-3. Nuggets 9-2, still the best team in the West. Best team. No, man, they're tied for best team in the league with the Celtics. But Mavericks are 9-3 as well in the West. They're coming off a win, been looking pretty good. Rockets 6-3 on a 6-game win streak, still at fourth. Thunder 7-4. Man, Chet Holmgren, some of them young boys, Josh Giddey, they've been doing great. Kings are at 6 right now on a 4-game win streak. Domantas Sabonis, been going absolutely crazy. Warriors 6-6 on a 4-game losing streak, just absolutely falling apart. And the team's not that different. I mean Curry, he has been out for a bit, so Chris Paul has needed to step up, but just kind of a shocker there. Lakers at 8, coming off of a loss. They're 6-6. But the biggest losers of the conference, Clippers, are 3-7 on a 6-game losing streak, yet to win. With James Harden on the team, still winless without him. Spurs also 3-8 on a 6-game losing streak. Victor Wembanyama, he's been balling, but not getting the wins. And Trailblazers, as expected, 5-game losing streak, 3-8, but not as bad as the Grizzlies, who are 2-9. Just absolutely terrible there. So Nuggets, Mavericks, Timberwolves, all chopping it up at the top of the West. In the Eastern Conference, though, Celtics still atop, 9-2 on a little 4-game win streak. 76ers in second. They are 8-3, 2-game losing streak for them. Heat, though, after a 1-4 start, are now on a 6-game win streak. Very impressive. Heat are now, the Heat 7-4. Liked what I've been seeing from them. Pacers 7-4 as well. Bucks 7-4, 2-game win streak. Giannis been doing well. And Nets 6-5. After dropping all of their stars. Impressive there. Knicks 6-5, Hawks 6-5. A lot of middle-of-the-pack teams. But actually, the worst team in the NBA, we're going to give it to them, the Detroit Pistons. 2-10, 9-game losing streak. Just atrocious. Wizards, 2-9, 4-game losing streak. Wow. Tough stuff for the Pistons, the Wizards, and who's a team in the West? The Grizzlies and the Trailblazers. There's just a lot of bad teams. Timberwolves, though, are actually red hot right now, and I'm all here for it. Let me just tell you that. I'm all here for it. I love when the Timberwolves do well, even though I don't really watch their games too often. I still am a fan. I always check in with the records. It's kind of what I do, but it's gonna be a long season. Let's hope they can continue that momentum as it rolls into the new year. In the NHL side of things, that's right, we're going from the court to the ice. Atlantic Division Bruins 12-1-2, still only have 3 losses. This team's been looking amazing. Panthers, though, 10-4-1 on a 5-game win streak. They're creeping up on them. Lightning at 5th, though, in the Atlantic, 6-6 on a 3-game losing streak. Also have 4 overtime losses. Senators, worst team in the Atlantic, but only 7-7. Not too bad, 500. In the Central Division, my Minnesota Wild, 5-8-2. 3-game losing streak there at 6. Yeah, not looking like it's going to be the Wild's year. Stars, top of the Central Division, 11-3-1 record, 4-game win streak as well. Blues in 4th, 8-5-1 with a 3-game win streak. Looking pretty good there. Predators, 5-10. 5-10, only have 10 points on the season, 4-game losing streak. In the Metropolitan Division, Rangers 11-2-1, tied for the best team potentially. 3-game win streak. Capitals 8-4-2 on a 3-game win streak. Penguins, after a rough start, are now 8-6 on a 5-game win streak. Terrible teams, though, towards the bottom. Islanders 5-6-4, 6-game losing streak. Blue Jackets 4-8-4, 6-game losing streak as well. Been a rough start to the season for them as we cross the 1/8 mark. I'm trying to decide 82 games, however you want to phrase that. Canucks 12-3-1, as well as the Golden Knights 12-3-1. So Canucks and Golden Knights got the most wins out of the league. They're both in the Pacific Division. Kraken 5-8-4, 3-game losing streak. Unfortunately, they're at 5th. And the worst team in the NHL currently, the San Jose Sharks, 3-game losing streak, 2-13-1. At this point, we'll be lucky if the Sharks get 10 wins on this season. But yeah, Canucks, Golden Knights, Rangers, Stars, Avalanche, Bruins, Panthers, all been chopping it up with double-digit wins. To kick off the NHL season, I'll have to bring back on Cole and Jane, my NHL experts. I'll say I'd bring on Garrett as well, one of my buddies down here. He knows a lot about the NHL, so it's always cool to hear their opinions on everything because they're avid hockey fans, but I don't know. I just like looking at the records, looking to see how the teams are doing like that. But occasionally I'll see some highlights online, but I'll be honest, I had to check myself yesterday because I have been on Instagram and TikTok and just social media too much in general, and it was someone in one of my classes today who I've just noticed, they have a decent following on social media, but they're just never really on it. And, they're busy doing other things in life. And I kind of realized, if I didn't spend as much time on social media, I feel like I could accomplish a lot more because I'm not really like a content creator. I mean, occasionally I'll make my TikToks for a UFC event, which I got to remember to do actually. But other than that, I've been trying to cook up an Instagram post. I have some ideas, but I kind of just need a good fit, a good setting. I kind of just want to get some pics of myself, maybe some pics with the boys or something. We'll work on that. But, of course, I'll post it on the socials if I ever let you know. As well, a little shout out for trying to get sponsored by Hoist. Hoist, I will continue to shout you out. I mean, I was going to give up, but I'm like, you know what? I like this little hydration drink. I very much enjoy it. It's great with veterans. It's great with like the military, police, first responders. New black cherry flavor drop-in. Hoist, I'll continue to tag you in my Instagram post, but I would be happy to support you, get the brand out there. And if I were to get sponsored, Hoist, first off, let me just say is that I would post on my main story with you guys because I'm all about getting sponsored, maybe making some extra money, doing some things I love, which is talking on the podcast about all sorts of activities. But yes, Hoist, always here for you. Love Hoist. Alrighty, we got only 3 more segments left, but they'll all take a decent amount of time. I think we just dive into these Week 11 NFL predictions. I think that's the move. I think that's what we're going to go with, and then we'll go over my top 10 TV shows, and then we'll of course preview UFC Vegas 82. That sounds like a pretty swell plan to me. And honestly, I hold the reins of what I do, so I mean, there's nothing really to debate in that market. But yes, Week 11 of the NFL kicks off tonight, actually, with the Bengals visiting the Ravens. My prediction is the Ravens, and by the looks of it, my entire family is going with the Ravens. I just think it's my buddy Dane in our picks pool who's going with the Bengals. Actually, I've been doing pretty good in that pick'em league. I have been doing pretty good. In my schools league, I won 1 week, which got me on the Wall of Fame, which is pretty cool. But other than that, I've been middle of the pack. But as long as I beat my 2 buddies, that's all I'm happy about. So, yes, let's get right into it. Bengals, Ravens, divisional matchup. Ravens currently 7-3, coming off of a loss last week. Bengals 5-4, 4th in the AFC North division, coming off of a loss as well. I'll be honest, the offense of both of these teams is good. I significantly think the Ravens defense is much better, and I mean fantasy-wise, the Ravens have the number 2 defense in the league. I mean, on the year, 10 interceptions, 5 fumble recoveries, 39 sacks. They actually got a touchdown last week, I think it was. Kyle Hamilton got a little pick 6, so good stuff from them. Actually have the Ravens defense in multiple leagues for fantasy football. But, Joe Mixon just not been producing high-level stats. He's had a couple good weeks here and there. T. Higgins will be out for this game, which I do feel is somewhat notable. Pretty notable if you ask me, because T. Higgins does play an impact. Jamar Chase not really breaking out as much as I thought he would this year. Lamar Jackson is actually putting up amazing stats, better than his MVP season, but the Ravens just be losing close games. 7-3 though record, one of the best teams in the AFC. Much you could even go as far to say the NFL in general. I believe they're actually second in the AFC behind the Chiefs. So we'll be going with the Ravens in this one. I don't think have they played yet. I don't believe that they've played each other yet, if I'm not mistaken. I do want to double check that, because they actually did. They played September 17th. Ravens won 27-24. So they had a week 2 matchup. Let's actually visit those matchup stats. Box score. That's actually what I'm looking for. Lamar threw for 2 tutties. Gus Edwards punched in a touchdown. Man, Gus Edwards, I got him in fantasy. He's been punching in touchdowns like no tomorrow. Honestly, very, very impressive from me. He's only 17th in fantasy, but I won't lie. In the last 4 games, he has 7 touchdowns. So very impressive stats from Gus Edwards in a very awkward Ravens locker room. Also in that matchup, Joe Burrow, 222 yards, 2 touchdowns, and interception. Joe Mixon only had 59 yards rushing. I mean, Tyler Boyd was T. Higgins had 8 catches, 89 yards, 2 touchdowns. So that was the game T. Higgins popped off, his only good game of the season, if you ask me. But yeah, we'll just we're going with the Ravens. Pretty confident in that pick. I mean, best team in the AFC North. And it's a crowded AFC North. Steelers are doing good. Browns are doing good. Probably the best division in football. But we're gonna go with the Ravens. Kicking us. Excuse me. Apologies. Usually I cut out the coughing, but I've been sick. The coughs have been going down slowly. My Monday episode, after my news interview, I was coughing like no tomorrow. Just was absolutely horrendous. And yeah, we're slowly getting better though. We're getting healthier. Kicking us off on a Sunday, we got the Cowboys visiting the Panthers. I mean, I don't know what you want to tell me. The 6-3 Cowboys, which with an insane offense, a great defense, number 1 defense in the league, taking on the 1-8 Panthers, the worst team in the league. Might I add you, 153 points for. They're the worst offense, second worst offense in the NFC. Trying to see who else has not scored more points than them. Steelers have. So, I mean, actually, Jets and Patriots offenses both are pretty brutal. But this Panthers team, it's just not been clicking. Not been clicking this season for the Panthers. Rookie QB, got veterans in the backfield rushing. You got veterans wideouts. It's nothing's clicked. Nothing's clicked. Panthers, not a good team on a little 2-game losing streak. And you look at the Cowboys, all right? They're coming off a win last week. Their 3 losses are to tough teams. I know they've lost to the Eagles. That Cardinals loss was awkward. Who else did the Cowboys lose to? Didn't they have another awkward loss? They blow out the Giants 49-17, blow out the Rams 43-20. They got blown out by the 49ers. That is just a weird thought. 49ers, though, they actually got back this week, so we'll be getting to them in a second. But yeah, we're easily going with the Cowboys. Cowboys should just absolutely run through. I'd honestly say more passing through the Panthers. Their defense should eat the Panthers' offense alive. But if it's anything like the Cardinals game, there can always be a shocker. And actually, it was Josh Dobbs who led that win over the Cowboys for the Cardinals. But yeah, we're going with the Cowboys without a doubt. Got to be one of the locks of the week. That would be a huge upset if the Panthers get that done. But I do predict that Dak Prescott will lead them to a win and a 7-3 record. Next one, a good one in the AFC North. Wow, it's just AFC North matchup week as the Steelers will be visiting the Browns. This should be an interesting one. Steelers are 6-3, 2-game win streak. Browns are 6-3, 2-game win streak. I mean, clearly this defense of the Browns, only giving up 170 points on the year, have looked phenomenal. Myles Garrett's looked great. I mean, you got my old Vikings buddy, Zadarius Smith. Is that what it is? Whatever it is. Zadarius, he's on the team now. Their secondary's great. Linebackers are great. Defensive line is just immaculate. This Browns defense has been carrying the team. Now, Deshaun Watson is out for the year, I'm pretty sure. So that should limit Amari Cooper a bit, sadly. But I think they're starting Dorian, whatever his name is, Robinson, Smith, whatever his freaking name is. He'll be getting the nod over PJ Walker. So that should bring up some implications. But the Steelers defense only good thing about this team. They've only allowed 182 points, but this offense only 156 points. Matt Canada sucks. Kenny Pickett can only do so much with Matt Canada. I mean, and Najee tries. Warren is clearly the better back. He's clearly come out as a great wideout. Deontay Johnson, George Pickens, they try their hardest. Not much to tell them. Not much at all. But yeah, we're going to go with the Browns in this matchup. I think it comes down to a defensive battle, and this Browns defense is better than the Steelers defense. So we're going to go with the Browns over the Steelers. Another divisional matchup as the Bears will be visiting Detroit. They'll be going to take on the Lions, and I was actually supposed to go with this game. Fun fact, but didn't work out. Trip fell through, and I'm not mad. I'm not mad at all. I have no interest to see the Bears play. But I don't know, speaking of the Bears, they're coming off a win last week. You know, this offense actually has put up 204 points. No idea how. They do still boast a negative 51 point differential. They're 3-7, definitely nowhere near the best teams in the league. But and the Lions 7-2, 2-game win streak, a plus 38 point differential, 241 points put up on the year. This Lions team looks really good. They have looked immaculate. I do think it could be a divisional matchup like one of these that messes them up, but I think it's the Vikings who mess them up, not the Bears. We're going with the Lions. Sam Laporta, do your thing. David Montgomery, do your thing. I mean, Jared Goff, I don't think I'm starting you, but do your thing. Jared Goff. No, I have no players on this Bears team. I think I've tried in the past to start Bears players. It just never works out. Just never works out. The Bears, just an awkward franchise. That's all I can say. No idea what they're going to do. I don't even think Justin Fields is back this week. This Lions team, they are freaking hot. The second best team in the NFC, in the NFC in general. Second best team in the NFC. And I believe they're the third or fourth best team in the league. So good stuff from the Lions this year. Cardinals and Texans will be up next, and this should be an interesting one. Cardinals, obviously 2-8. They are coming off a win last week. Kyler Murray sort of has lit a spark back under this team, but the one thing that is unfortunate for Kyler Murray is that CJ Stroud has finally found himself. Texans are 5-4, 2-game win streak. They are now at a plus 25 point differential, second in the AFC South, and they're actually been surging. They've been surging. Same thing for the Colts. They've been looking good too, but the Texans, they're now second in the AFC South. Wild card potential is very much out there, and they could even win the AFC South if the Jaguars play how they played last week, and CJ Stroud continues to put up good numbers. Devin Singletary did well last week. Tank Dell was looking great. So was Nico Collins. So without a doubt, I'm riding with the Texans in this one. They've been impressing me of late. I've liked what I've seen, and even though Kyler Murray's kind of back, he's kind of doing his thing. There's just something about this Cardinals team. Their defense is not there at all. Even though they got some weapons on offense, I don't think it's enough for this Cardinals team to compete at all. Raiders and Dolphins. Finally, the Dolphins are back in action. Missed them. I missed you, Tyreek. I've missed you, Raheem Mostert. Even watching Tua sling it to Jalen Waddle, I missed all that. I will give the Raiders props. They're on a 2-game win streak. They're 5-5, second in the AFC West. Do still have just an absolutely terrible minus 33 point differential. And sadly for this Raiders team, their offense only put up 172 points. Not the best offense in the slightest. It's they're facing a immaculate offense, the best offense in the league in my opinion. The 6-3 Dolphins, who lead the AFC West, or the AFC East, 285 points so far this season. I believe that's the most, 285 in the league. Cowboys have 269. That's probably the closest that I've seen. Colts have 242. Bills have 262. But yeah, the Dolphins 285. They get 2 touchdowns and a field goal, and they will pass the 300 mark for points on the season. But they're one flaw. They are coming off of a loss, might I add you. Now, that was a tough loss for the Dolphins, as they fortunately lost to the Chiefs 21-14. By the way, their only other losses are to the Eagles and to the Bills. So only tough losses for the Dolphins on this season. But their defense has given up 225 points. This is not a strong defense. It's a good defense. It's a good defense, but they've given up a lot of points. All right, but their offense, it can make up for that. It'll run through this Raiders D, I believe. And even this Dolphins D can tear through this Raiders offense, because this Raiders offense is not that hot. Obviously the the goal that the new head coach gave to Aiden O'Connell is get the ball to Devontae Adams. But it's just not as easy as it sounds. It's not as easy as it sounds. We'll see what happens, but we're going with the Dolphins in this matchup. Big thanks from Tyreek Hill. I really need that. Another divisional matchup here between the Giants. They'll be visiting the Commanders in Washington, D.C. This is actually an interesting one. Now, Giants are 2-8, 3-game losing streak, 118 points. Probably the worst offense in football. All right. Commanders, 4-6. All right. Coming off of a loss, but the Commanders have just been looking good, especially Sam Howell. Sam Howell has clearly came out as the Commanders QB. He'll be their QB next season too, and maybe if they add some more weapons, they can do good. But Antonio Gibson, Brian Robinson, they're so unpredictable each week. Some weeks they're doing immaculate. They're just putting up so many points. The next weekend, they're just not. And it's tough for fantasy owners of Terry McLaurin like myself to rely on him because you have Jahan Dotson on one side. Sometimes he's even throwing it to Logan Thomas. He has too many options. And Sam Howell, I really liked what I've seen from him. He's been looking great. He's now the number 5 QB in fantasy. 17 touchdowns, only 9 interceptions on the year, which actually it's a lot of interceptions. But the Commanders should be able to get through the Giants, but I won't lie. I'll point this out. This is one of those divisional matchups where you have a mediocre team and a bad team. Giants could easily sneak out a win here, but we're going with the Commanders in this one. Just actually wanted to touch on the teams on a bye this week. There are 4 teams: Atlanta Falcons on a bye, Indianapolis Colts, New England Patriots, and the Saints. What is it? The Saints. What the heck? Why am I mind blanking on the where the Saints are from? Holy cow! What is going on right now? Guys, I'm actually having like a big, the New Orleans Saints. I don't know. I just had a big mind blank right there. But yeah, those teams are all on a bye. And I won't lie. All 4 of them desperately need it. Maybe not the Colts. Colts were kind of catching fire. But Falcons, Patriots, and Saints really need to assess everything. Here we go. Here's a good one. Chargers visit the Packers. Look, all I'm going to say, Chargers, they're 4-5. All right. They are plus 24 point differential. All right. Their offense has been looking great. Defense, not so much. They've been losing close games, but they're taking on the 3-6 Packers, coming off a loss, minus 3 point differential for the Packers. And this offense of the Chargers should shred through the Packers' secondary, their defense. I'm really confident in Keenan Allen's ability to just sauce them up. Justin Herbert knows what he's doing. But I just think it comes down to if this awkward defense can stop this offense of the Packers, which isn't that daunting. It's not a daunting offense from the Packers. So we'll go with the Chargers, and I just like watching the Packers lose. And that'll strengthen the Vikings' lead in the division once we pass the Lions, which is going to happen. Titans and Jags, the divisional matchups go crazy this week as we head to the AFC South. Jaguars 6-3 atop the division. Titans 3-6 below the division. And it's an awkward spot. Titans 2-game losing streak. Jaguars, I don't even know what happened with the Jaguars last week. Just completely fell apart. They now have only have a plus 6 point differential for the Jags. As for Titans, minus 26. It's just gross down there in Tennessee. And Derrick Henry's just not been doing his thing. Will Levis, now the starting QB at the moment. DeAndre Hopkins can only do so much as this QB can do. I just don't like anything on this Titans team, personally. As for the Jaguars, there's so much good. There's so much good with this team. I get so perplexed at how they're doing, how they lose some of these games. So don't get me wrong. They get blown out by the 49ers. Okay, 34-3. That's tough. But then they'll just they'll lose to the who are their other losses? They've beaten we're in preseason, what I'm looking at right now. They've lost to the Chiefs and the Texans. So, honestly, not too bad of losses for this Jaguars team. I just feel like, honestly, it's just when they lose, it's more notable than when they win. But Trevor Lawrence no longer will. I think I dropped him from my fantasy team in a 10-man league. Travis Etienne, I'm still holding on to him, and I have to hold on to Calvin Ridley in one of my other leagues. But yeah, I'm going to go with the Jaguars in this one. I'm going to I wrote down the Titans. I'm now looking at my pick sheet, and I wrote down the Titans for some reason. I don't know why, but now I'm skeptical to change it. I always get skeptical when I say something and then I go back and look and I had something else. So now we actually have to make a live decision, live on the podcast, which is pre-recorded, so it's not live, but it's live for me, on if I'm going to go with the Titans or the Jaguars. And you know what? When I look at Derrick Henry, who is just the focal point of the offense for the Titans, he is yet to have a bad game where he doesn't follow it up with a great performance. All right. 2 fantasy points in week 3, followed it up with a 24 bomb, 122 rushing yards, and a touchdown. Week 5, only 43 yards rushing, 9.2 fantasy points, followed it up with a 97-yard, 1 touchdown game, 19.3 points. Now, he just had a 24-yard week against the Buccaneers. Terrible, only 3 fantasy points. I think Derrick Henry goes off. I think maybe the Jags get a little rattled. This is a divisional matchup. This is on the road too. We're going with the Titans over the Jaguars. We're going to hold on to it. I'm not changing my original picks I made, which I think I do on like Tuesday. So I do them like fresh after the Monday Night Football game has ended. So we'll ride with the Titans, but man, I'm surprised I went with that. All right, let's get into our 3:30 games as the 49ers take on the Buccaneers. Little NFC battle here. The 49ers, 6-3, finally found some mojo last week. One of the best teams in football. 252 points put up, only 143 points given up. So that's a plus 111. Actually, it might be plus 109 point differential. Try to do some quick math. But yes, this team's been crazy. Debo's finally back cooking. Brandon Ayuk, George Kittle, Christian McCaffrey. This offense is nuclear. Brock Purdy. Actually, one of my buddies is a Brock Purdy hater, not me. I like Brock Purdy. I like what I see from Brock Purdy. He's been doing his thing. As for the Bucs, plus 5 point differential. They're 4-5, second in the NFC South, which is wide open. NFC South is wide open for some reason. Coming off a huge win last weekend. Who did they beat last week? Didn't they win a... Who'd they beat last week? They beat the Bucs last week. The Titans. Of course, the team I just talked about and mentioned that they lost to was the team. But you know what? Beat the Titans by 2 touchdowns. Buccaneers have been doing all right. Losing some close games. I will say that Texans game, that was a close game. They should have won, but didn't. But yeah, we're not betting against the 49ers. They're back. All right. I didn't think they were last week, but they were. We're going 49ers over the Bucs. Christian McCaffrey and Deebo Samuel, do your freaking thing. Let's keep it rolling with a rematch already. We got a rematch. Jets visit the Bills. That's right. This is a little divisional matchup, and there's some bad blood in this one, ladies and gentlemen, as they faced on the first game of the season, the kickoff game, or actually that was a Monday night game, the first Monday night game of the year for this team. Of course, it looked like the Bills had sealed the victory. It looked like it was all done, and then a punt return to win the game in overtime, I think it was absolutely crazy. And this Jets D is so good. Only 172 points given up. This is one of the best defenses in the league. A must start every week. This offense, 144 points. It's in the bottom 10. It might even be bottom 5 offenses in the league. I won't lie. Zach Wilson does not have the locker room. He's not of the locker room. It's supposed to be Aaron Rodgers' locker room. Maybe it will be in a couple weeks, maybe a month. Who knows? But it's just not been hot. Breece Hall and Dalvin Cook cannot find their way. Garrett Wilson and Alan Lazard and Randall Cobb even, they can only succeed as much as Zach Wilson does. So this offense is terrible. But let me just tell you something. The Bills, 5-5, 2-game losing streak. I have no idea how the Bills have been bad. But let me just tell you something. They play to the level of their competition. We'll take you back to that first game where they play the Jets. They lose in overtime on the punt return, but they had lost Aaron Rodgers, all right? And the Jets should have been rattled, but they weren't. The Jets played their game. The Bills played down to the level and lost, all right? Now they do follow that up, blowing out the Raiders 38-10, blowing out the Commanders 37-3, blowing out the Dolphins 48-20. And then randomly, week 5, the Jaguars beat them 25-20. And you're kind of like, okay, that's awkward. I'm not used to that, but you know what? Good for the Jaguars. Following week, only beat the Giants by 5. It comes down to a goal-lined final pass for a touchdown, and they sneak out win. The following week, they lose to the Patriots 29-25. The Patriots are one of the worst teams in football. The Bills lose following week, October 26th, this is week 8 now, 24-18, yet again, win the game on a final play from the Bucs, failing, all right? Last weekend, not even the last weekend, actually, November 5th, they lose to the Bengals 24-18, all right? Crazy stuff there. And last weekend, the whole reason I'm going on this little spiel, the Broncos beat them 24-22, which makes absolutely no sense whatsoever. We're going with the Jets. All right, this defense is going to stand tall, pick off Josh Allen, make Josh Allen fumble. We're going with the Jets. Let's go. Jets, Jets. Although I have no faith in that Jets offense. 3:30 games wrap up with the Seahawks and the Rams. I love divisional weeks. They're so fun. Rams back off a bye week. 3-game losing streak. What's been going on, Rams? As for Seahawks, coming off of a win. All right. 6-3, tied for first in the NFC West, by the way, with the 49ers. The Seahawks team has just surprised me very much so. Kenneth Walker been a force? I never have a lisp. What is that? A fourth? They've been a force this season. He has. Geno Smith been looking good. Tyler Lockett performing exceptionally. Can I find him? He's on my fantasy team somewhere. He's lurking somewhere on the fantasy teams. Might be in my 10-man league. No, it's actually in my 12-man league where I'm first in the league. That would make sense because Tyler Lockett's a dog. Yeah, I had 23 fantasy points last weekend, 10 catches, 92 yards, a touchdown. I mean, Tyler Lockett's been looking great. DK Metcalf, as always, is good. I mean, Jackson Smith and Jigba, he's been looking great as well. Very much like even Zach Charbonnet, backup running back, been looking good for the Seahawks. Coming off a nice win last weekend. Good win for the Seahawks over the Commanders last weekend. As always, the Commanders never make the wins easy. But as for the Rams, they just need to get back that early season mojo. All right, that early season mojo. All right, first off, their backup QB sucks. Brett Ripon or whatever, he's actually awful. Like, I don't know how he's in the NFL. Like, he's actually a bad QB. Offense. I hope you take offense, Brett. Just terrible. Of their 6 losses, I mean, let's take a quick look here. 49ers beat them week 2, makes sense. Bengals in week 3, makes sense to me there. Eagles in week 5, makes sense. Cowboys in week 8, makes sense. The Packers last weekend did not really make sense. Okay, if Matt Stafford's in, I'm liking this team, all right? Cooper Kupp, Puka Nacua, Tutu Atwell. This is an excellent receiving core. All right, now the running backs. I mean, Darrell Henderson, Royce Freeman, not necessarily appetizing, but not awful. Not awful, but there's nothing from the Rams to warrant me to pick them. I like what I see from the Seahawks. Divisional matchups, always close, but we got to go with the Seahawks in this one. Sunday Night Football, and I'm going to just tell you, it's my favorite Sunday Night Football of the year, as my Minnesota Vikings play the Denver Broncos, and we'll be going to Denver in Minnesota. We'll be going to the Mile High City, riding our 5-game win streak. That is right. I freaking love the Vikings. Have I ever said that? Does anyone know that I'm a Vikings fan? You know, is that a known thing? I hope it's known because I'm just a huge Vikings guy. But yes, 5-game win streak. The season of Josh Dobbs has been born. Actually, we now are plus 24 point differential. Not too shabby. 6-4, second in the NFC North. And we're actually, I'd say we're probably below those two teams. 6. I think we're in the number 6 spot. Ooh, we actually might be in 7th for the playoffs. But as of right now, the Vikings are in the playoffs. As for the Broncos, they are 4th in the AFC West, but they're on a 3-game win streak. This offense has been picking up pace. Defense, more of the offense. Russell Wilson's been playing pretty good. So is Cortland Sutton. Javonte Williams been doing the best he can. Jerry's Judy. But 4-5 record for them, 196.4, 248 points against. But you have to think 70 of those was against the Dolphins. So you take that out, and this defense hasn't even done that bad of a job. They'd be sub 200. But this has just been a crazy little win streak for the Broncos. They've beaten the Bills, the Chiefs, and the Packers. I would say all of those are notable. I mean, maybe not so much though the Packers, but Chiefs and Bills are 2 huge, massive wins for this Broncos team. But you're not stopping the Minnesota Vikings. Justin Jefferson is rumored to be playing, so if he does, that just adds to our weaponry. Okay, Ty Chandler's been coming out as a beast. I just don't see what the Broncos can offer us. All right, Vikings by 1 million, Vikings to the top. We're winning the Super Bowl this year. It's the season of Dobbs. I love you, Minnesota Vikings. And following that Vikings win, hopefully, I don't want to jinx it. I'll knock on some wood right now. We'll wrap everything up in Week 11 with a Monday night matchup between the Eagles and the Chiefs. Oh my goodness, this is a Super Bowl rematch, and this could be a preview of this year's Super Bowl. Eagles 8-1, best team in the NFC by a long shot. Excellent offense, excellent defense, 3-game win streak. Chiefs 7-2, same thing here. An excellent defense this year, only giving up 143 points. 208 points, the offense hasn't been exhilarating as they have in past years, but not too bad this year. Coming off a big win last week, they really need that win. Oh, actually, they had a bye last week. Last played November 5th, wow, against the Dolphins, so it's been a fat minute for, actually, they were both on a bye last week, so the matchmakers knew what they were doing here. Look, it's a toss-up for me. I mean, you got two excellent QBs, Jalen Hurts and Patrick Mahomes. Some good running backs, DeAndre Swift and Isaiah Pacheco, good wideouts. I think we just go with the Eagles. Eagles have just been better this year. I really, it's a coin flip for me because both teams are good. I will say maybe the Chiefs being in having home field advantage could be a benefit to them, but I do like to point out that the Chiefs in their actually when the Chiefs lost, were they away or home? Were they away or home? They lost to the Broncos away, and they lost to the Lions at home, didn't they? Yeah, the Chiefs lost at home. And as for the I'm pretty sure I know that the Eagles' only loss was to the Jets, and that was on the road. So I mean, this should be a tough one. But yeah, we're gonna go with the Eagles. We're going with the Eagles in this one, personally, because I don't know. I could start Josh Dobbs or Jalen Hurts in one of my in my 12-man league, so I'm kind of torn on what to do. But we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. I'll be interested to see what transpires. But yeah, we'll go with the Eagles in this one. That should be an excellent game, though. And actually, as I'm speaking, well, spoiler alert, Gus Edwards just punched in a touchdown for the Ravens on Thursday Night Football. So very happy to see that. But yeah, we'll leave a Week 11 right there. Should be a good weekend. Everything I've seen so far, Week 11 looks pretty promising if you're a sports fan. And if you're a TV show fan, you'll like this next segment, as I'm going to be going through and ranking my top 10 TV shows. These are ones I've seen. Of course, I am a human being. I have my own personal preference. I'll mention a couple that I haven't seen that I've also heard are good from people. But yeah, I'm going to give the voice a little break here, and we'll be right back with my top 10 TV shows, I guess, of all time, if you want to say that. All right, before we begin, let me just say I have a lot of honorable mentions here. Because I haven't seen as much. I've seen a lot of good ones. I've seen a lot of the greats. I've seen a lot of the good TV shows, but I haven't seen all of them. So I do want to say one major one missing is Breaking Bad. I do have to watch Breaking Bad. I've been recommended it by some of my friends. I've just seen on every list how amazing it is. I've seen clips on TikTok of it, and I know how good Breaking Bad is, but I just personally have not got around to watching it, so that's why it's not going to be on the list, because I assume it'd be my number 1, 2, or 3, probably when I watch it, which I could honestly get to. I could get around to watching it, but we'll see. We'll see whenever I get around to it. But it's missing from the list, but I'm aware of how good it is. Another good series I've heard about is actually True Detective, starring Matthew McConaughey. Never seen that, but I've heard it's one of the highest rated TV shows. Suits I've heard is a good show. It's just a lot of episodes. My mom's actually watching it now. Once I added it to Netflix, it was a big hit. But I just don't have that much time, at the moment to be watching that. Maybe over the winter, depending on what I do this winter. But we'll see. We'll see what I decide to go with for if I ever watch Suits, but I doubt it. Peaky Blinders. I've seen the first season of Peaky Blinders, but I only half watched it. Watched the first 2 episodes of season 2, only half paid attention. But I've heard it gets good after the first season. But I can't go off of one season. And I've heard that's a very good show as well. Yet to watch it. On cue with some of my other shows on here is Parks and Rec. I've never fully watched it. I haven't watched enough episodes to consider it worthy of being on my list, but I am aware of how good it is. One show I actually have watched, which did not make this, is The Umbrella Academy, which is actually on Netflix. It's pretty good. It stars, trying to think if it stars any big names. I mean, I wouldn't really say any big names, but some notable people. I've noticed the first season was amazing. First season, one of the best first seasons I've seen. Second season was also good, not as good as the first, but still good. And third season was just mediocre. I do hope they make a fourth season, but it's not really notable. It's a weird show. It's based off of comics. It's just a really odd show. Sex Education, another one of those shows. I'd compare it to Umbrella Academy. Not as big as a fall off. Season 1 was super good. Season 2 was super good. Season 3 is all right. And then season 4, the final season, was just okay. Just okay. That's all I'm going to say about it. It was just okay. So, yeah, it didn't make the list, but it was up there. I really like that. And Practical Jokers. It's weird because I don't really view it as like a TV show. Just because there's not really like a plot, but it's such a good show. I love it. And Shameless. Shameless is another really good show. I've heard the later seasons suck, and I've actually never seen the earlier seasons. I've seen like seasons 4 to 7, which is just super odd. And it was a very good show. A white boy Carl, one of my favorite characters created of all time. And then the two shows that almost made it on my list, one of them is Mindhunter by Netflix. Such an amazing show. Mindhunter, such an amazing show. Basically about the creation of the term serial killer, finding the first serial killers, just determining what they are. Only 2 seasons, 2 of the best written TV seasons, 2 of the best written TV seasons I've ever seen. It's a shame they canceled it, but only because it's 2 seasons, it's not going to make the list. And then also Grimm. If no one's heard of Grimm, it was on NBC, and it was basically about like creatures, like basically people would like turn into creatures of sorts. That's kind of the weird way to say it. They turn to monsters, but it was mixed with kind of like that NCIS type vibe. I don't even know how to describe it, but it was super good. There were like 6 seasons of it. I have them all on DVD, and I would definitely go back and binge watch all of them. I remember I used to watch each episode in the living room with my mom and dad, and I used to get so scared. All right, when like they like change, because they actually had really good CGI. They had excellent CGI for this show, but it didn't crack my top 10 list. I'd say that there's definitely some TV series on my list that is without a doubt going to be on this list without a doubt, and then there's some I could take off of it, but we'll get into it. We got 10 shows to get through. We've mentioned some honorable mentions just about shows I haven't seen or that did not make the list for certain reasons. So without a doubt, let's kick it off. Excuse me. Wow, why don't I just cough in your ear or in your car, wherever you're listening to this. At number 10, we have Modern Family. Modern Family, one of my favorite shows of all time. I can watch any episode at any time. I will say I've watched probably the first 4 seasons so much, just because I always say I'm going to do a rewatch and I never make it through. I've never actually seen the final season of the show, which I think is pretty crazy, but I've seen enough of it to know how much I love it. It streams on Hulu currently. And man, just Phil, such good written character, just so many good jokes. Just the writers of this show, so good. They're just so witty. They just make sense. They're so clever. Clever is such an excellent word. Jace has such great character development in the show. I just really enjoy it. I just really enjoy this show. It's such a comfort show for me. Just Modern Family. There's a Modern Family, everyone has that Jay, that one rich grandpa, and everyone's got the siblings. It's a great, great time. At number 9, we have Community. Now, Community is an odd one for me. Community is an odd one because I love the first 4 seasons. Definitely the first 3 so much. Season 5, I barely got through the first 3 episodes. It was so just not it because it just felt so forced. But those first 4 seasons of Community make up for it. Streams on Netflix. Check it out. I'm trying to think. Is it Jeff Bridges? I don't think that's the name of some of the... They have an excellent cast. So witty, just about basically community college. Pokes fun at it. What is it? Oh, Joel McHale, his name's Jeff in the show. You also got Donald Glover's in there. You also got Allison Brie, good actress. Jillian Jacobs. Chevy Chase, just unbeatable. Ken Jeong's in there too. John Oliver is in this show, which I just find hilarious that John Oliver is in this show. But yeah, such a good time. So many good jokes, and just the stuff Chevy Chase says in this show would never fly in today's society. But it's too funny to not throw on here. Gotta throw a little shout out to Community. I love you. At number 8, and the reason it's at 8 is because of how mainstream it is. It almost has kind of ruined it because of the fan base of it. But we do have Stranger Things. At number 8, Stranger Things. As much as the memes of it, the just the cringy fans, the TikToks, the Instagram. It's the internet's ruined Stranger Things for a bit, but the show itself, I just cannot look past. It is just too amazing. A great cast of kids. The callbacks, just through 4 seasons, they've crafted this universe, this world, and it is so great, so great. I love Stranger Things. Every time I watch it, it comes out, I always just immediately have to binge watch it. It's that good. Last season, when did that come out? 2021. Me and my cousin, it just worked out perfectly. We stayed up and watched the final 2 episodes, and we were up to like 4 in the morning. And literally after the second to last episode, we had to take an intermission because we were like, okay, this finale is going to be huge. It was huge, a crazy cliffhanger. Stranger Things is amazing. Actually, when's season 5 coming out? I'm here in 2024. It's been open to come out. This whole writer strike definitely kind of killed the vibe of sorts. It's definitely set back a lot of things. It's definitely set back the what am I trying to think of? I'm trying to think of it's set back Marvel. It's set back the MCU a lot, changed a lot of things. But I'm hoping for season 5 of Stranger Things 2 on Netflix. I freaking love this show. At number 7, this is a hidden gem. A hidden gem I discovered a while ago now that I think about it. But it's Entourage. It's on HBO or Max now. And basically follows this movie star, Vincent Chase, and his 4 buddies. One of them's name is Turtle. I mean, his cousin, Johnny Drama. Eric Murphy, his buddy. Jeremy Piven as Ari Gold, one of my favorite characters of all time. This show has it all. It's got comedy. It's got wittiness. It has got this. It's not even like a drama, or it is a drama. I don't even know how to describe it. It's such a well-written show. It feels real. All right, that's one of the weird things about it, is it feels real, because you almost kind of like, wait, this isn't like a real person. They're not on a real movie set. They do an excellent job with that. Entourage, amazing. I'm gonna have to go back and rewatch that. At number 6 on this list, this is just a personal favorite of mine. It's popular on Netflix. That's right, the show. Joe Goldberg, Penn Badgley just plays an amazing Joe Goldberg. It is just so dark. It's a terrible premise. It's basically about a serial killer, this psychopath. But you root for him. You root for the antagonist. I love when shows do that. And man, every episode leaves me wanting more. And the plot twists are just absolutely crazy. And they're all coming out with a final 5th season, just like Stranger Things, coming in 2024. Season 4 left off on a huge cliffhanger. It's one of those shows I would definitely go back and watch. It's just so riveting. It keeps me entertained without a doubt. And it's so dark. It's so dark, but it's like a good dark. It's like you can't help but watch. You just gotta watch it. I love you, Joe Goldberg. One of the biggest, what's the word? He's like Patrick Bateman. Honestly, he's like Patrick Bateman. Christian Bale's character in American Psychopath. At number 5, just another show that just holds a dear spot in my heart. And even if the last 2 seasons haven't been what they should be, Cobra Kai at 5 on Netflix. Which the first 2 seasons, I'll even throw the 3rd season in there, just so good. The impact this had on me, it changed my mindset for a time. I don't know what it was, but Cobra Kai just being hard, being a badass, it invoked something in me. And Cobra Kai, it's so good. And these last few seasons, they've been goofy. The final season coming up, the final one. I mean, all my favorite shows clearly coming to an end, which kind of sucks. It is what it is. But I mean, I just love Johnny. All right, and who doesn't love? Who does not love? What's his name? No, it's not Johnny. It's gosh, I'm gonna kick myself. I forget his name all the time. It's Johnny's rival. It's Daniel LaRusso. There it is, Johnny and Daniel LaRusso. Cobra Kai season 6, is that coming out? Actually, now that I'm looking at that, I'm actually kind of curious. Oh, they said the Cobra Kai series finale will leave room for spin-offs. It was a premiere in December, but they're not even filming until 2024. But yes, Cobra Kai basically follows these Karate Kid back from the 80s. Karate Kid. It's a continuation of that. This was actually made on YouTube TV back in like 2018 or 2017 or something. And Netflix eventually got a hold of it, made a second season. It's been perfect since. Follows these guys battling out in karate, but they're grown up now. The jokes are great. The callbacks are great. The characters, very well written. I love it. I love the romances. I love the heartbreak. I love Cobra Kai. And honestly, I'll always be a Cobra Kai fan. Getting into our top 4 at number 4. I almost never want to put it on my list, and it just finds its way up there. It's one of those shows where, like, I always see clips, I see an episode, and I'm like, I've never seen this one before. At number 4, we have The Office, one of the funniest shows ever written. The jokes are amazing. Michael Scott, one of the funniest characters. Dwight Schrute, one of the funniest characters. Jim Alpert, an amazing character. And just the cast of The Office is just amazing. And they always talked about making one more season, maybe even doing a reboot. Nothing will top it. Just perfection. It gets a 9 out of 10 on IMDb and 81% on Rotten Tomatoes, which is absolutely amazing. I mean, I just love it. There's just no words to say. I mean, Jenna Fisher, a great Pam, and one of the most underrated characters of the show, just because of how she cares for Michael. All right, and Steve Carell, one of my favorite actors. So the Office, without a doubt, it makes me want to go back and watch it. Honestly, I might have to buy Peacock and watch this show just because of how freaking good it is. Let's get into our top 2, and my number 2 is actually my previous one for a long time. But at number 2, we have Game of Thrones on Max. Oh, no. My bad. We skipped 3. Oh my gosh, I read my list wrong. At number 3, we have a newer show, a superhero show. We got The Boys on Amazon Prime. Let me just tell you, this show just went from an average show to me to being one of my favorites. I just cannot believe it. Homelander, one of my favorite TV characters of all time, without a doubt. Just basically what superheroes would be if they were bad. That's all I can describe it as. Just if they acted like normal people with superheroes. And they're dark, it's gross. This show pushes the boundaries with the scenes it makes. All right, I've seen so many parts of people's bodies, things go places, things explode, just animal things. I mean, it's a grotesque show, but it's so good. It's setting up for 4th season, which I believe is the last. The 4th season may be the last. I hope not, but it's coming up soon. Billy Butcher, Soldier Boy, such good characters as well. Huey, love Huey, Starlight. It is just so amazing. I encourage everyone to watch The Boys. First 3 seasons. I might have to go back and rewatch the first 3 seasons. It is just so damn good. I love The Boys at 3. And at number 2, as I was just going to mention, Game of Thrones. Game of Thrones is one of my favorite shows of all time. The moment where, spoiler alert, Ned Stark gets his head chopped off in the first season, I'd never been more shocked in a show. I'd never been more shocked because I was like, that's the main character. There's more seasons after this. What? That's the main character of the show. No one's done that before. And by the way, I've read the books. Yes, it's true. The books are better than the TV show. The books are so good. Now, there are elements from both that are better for worse. I will say once the show starts leaning away from the books, it does kind of get bad. Season 8 obviously is one of the worst seasons of television I've ever watched. Season 7 is just rushed, still good, but 1 through 6, just amazing. Just so amazing. I freaking love 1 through 6. You also, the books, I read all about the world, the history. George R. R. Martin has crafted a masterpiece with the Game of Thrones world. I'm waiting on Winds of Winter. I'm waiting on that. And also House of the Dragon, the prequel show. Really needing that to come out soon, George. But yes, love Game of Thrones. It's amazing. And the books, the books are one of the few books where I've actually finished a chapter and been like, okay, I need to go to bed. I need to go do something. I just need to see what happens. And you know what? I skimmed through it. I burned through it. And I can't wait to see how he wraps it all up. Hopefully he's around to finish off the story. Because if not, that would be sad. And at number 1, I recently finished it. I started it this year and I finished it after not watching all summer. This show, the impact it's had on me as of late has been unsurmountable. One of the greatest written shows it's been claimed of all time. An awkward ending, but literally the final scene of the show is the only weird part of the whole thing. The Sopranos, 5 seasons of 13 episodes. Season 6, the final season, 21 episodes. Just amazing. I could go back and rewatch it any moment. It's about the mob. Tony Soprano, my favorite character. He's up there. I like Optimus Prime. I like Caesar. I like Homelander. I like Poe the panda. I like Hiccup from what's it? What am I thinking of? How's it called? How to Train Your Dragon. Big Jon Snow guy, big Michael Scott guy, but man, Tony Soprano, my freaking idol, man. Love that man. You got Christopher. You got, oh my gosh, so many characters. Paulie. I just love the whole cast of the show. Just such a well-written show. There's just some moments. It's like Game of Thrones. Just at any moment, a character could die. And that does happen. They do set it up well. It's crazy. It's a wild show. It's a realistic show. I will say that. There's not a lot of unrealistic things in here. It's the mob life, and the mob life is dangerous, but Sopranos, I love it. I do see they made a prequel movie about Tony Soprano. I might check that out at some point, but it's a shame they had to end The Sopranos, especially how they ended it. You kind of you don't know if Tony dies or not. The show literally just ends. It feels just at a random scene. It's like they just were cutting through footage and go, okay, we're going to end it there, which is kind of awkward, but I'm going to look past it. It's just a masterpiece. It is. The Sopranos, you just have a big place in my heart from now on. And you're my favorite TV show of all time now. So I'd honestly say it's Sopranos and Game of Thrones. It's up there. And if I watch Breaking Bad, oh my gosh, imagine Breaking Bad could crack the top 3 and try to throw a divot into how I view things. But as for now, we got some Modern Family, Community. You got some Office. You got some shows like that. You got your Netflix shows, Cobra Kai. You got Entourage, which is kind of like The Sopranos of sorts. Stranger Things is good. Cobra Kai, The Boys, little action there. Game of Thrones. I mean, so many good TV series out there, TV shows out there. Sopranos lands at number 1 for me. I had fun going through all my old all the old shows I've watched, all the old memories I've had. It's always fun making top 10 lists, looking back on all the stuff that I've watched, which is a lot. I've watched a lot of stuff. I won't lie. I don't know if I'm proud that I've watched as much stuff as I have, but hey, you know what? All in a day's work. All in a day's work. Whatever impresses the ladies or just my girlfriend. Okay. Let's take a little break here. I'm going to take a quick break. You guys take no break. I find that hilarious. And when we get back, we're going to give my predictions, break down all the fights for UFC Fight Night. Allen versus Craig, UFC Vegas 82 going down this Saturday. One of my favorite parts of every episode. I took notes this time for every single fighter. So I'm excited to go through and predict all of the fights. Yes, sir. Let's do it. And with that, we are now going to begin our final part of the episode. It's been a fun one, been a good one, a long one. As always, I find it hilarious that with my first few, I struggled to even get to an hour. And now, an hour is just routine. And it's kind of crazy. It's honestly pretty good. Getting over an hour, I feel, for podcasts. I don't know how people feel about it, but I always like going over an hour. It just gives you more time to listen to stuff, but I could try and keep it under an hour at times. We'll see. I always am able to fill it up, especially during the NFL season. Maybe once the NFL's done, I'll need to find some stuff to fill. But whenever we get to the UFC talk of the episode, it's usually towards the end. But yes, we have an absolutely loaded card this weekend going down to the UFC Apex. Let's not waste any time, as we'll kick it off with let me find actually a highlighter so I can mark down my predictions. But yes, we kick off the night with a flyweight matchup on the prelims. Charles Inerg Johnson, I-N-N-E-R-G, Inerg Johnson, takes on Rafael Macapa Estevam. Wow, quite the names from these two. Charles is 13-5. Rafael, a perfect 11-0. 5'9" to 5'8" in favor of Charles Johnson. 70-inch reach to 69-inch reach in favor of Charles Johnson. Charles fights in a switch stance. Rafael Estevam fights in orthodox stance. Charles Johnson from Missouri. He's 32 years of age. Of his 13 victories, 5 by knockout, 4 by sub. Pretty good. He actually fought Brandon Royval in LFA back in 2018. Brandon Royval, this was before either man was in the UFC, is actually fighting for the flyweight championship this December against Alexander Pinto at UFC 296. Charles has had 5 appearances in the UFC. His debut lost to Muhammad Mokaev, and Muhammad Mokaev is an absolute killer, currently ranked number 10 in the flyweight division. Picked up wins over Zalagas Zumalagov, got a round 1 TKO of Jimmy Flick, but in February of this year, lost to Ode Osborne by decision, and in April, lost to Cody Durden by decision. Got out-grappled just brutally. I mean, clearly grappling is a huge hole in his game. And as he takes on Rafael Estevam, who is, of course, undefeated, from Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, the kid's only 27 years old. Of his 11 victories, 4 by knockout, 3 by submission, and actually trains at Nova Unero Jiu-Jitsu. And someone who trains there is Renan Barão, former bantamweight champion, UFC legend. Renan Barão, and Rafael's coming from Season 6 of the Contender Series. Last fought in the UFC in September of 2022. Got a round 2 TKO of Joao Elias. I like what I see. This kid's 11-0. Charles is tough, but I got to ride with Rafael Estevam. I mean, they do not want Rafael to lose, especially being an 11-0 upcoming prospect, and Charles Johnson is someone they can feed to him with ease. So we'll be riding with Rafael Estevam in the opening bout of the evening at UFC Vegas 82. But you know what? Should be a good one. Next up, we have a lightweight matchup, and by the way, this card is shuffled around so much in just the bout order, might I add. But next up, lightweight matchup between Trey Samurai Ghost Ogden and Nicholas Iron Mota. Trey is 16-6, Nicholas 13-5, 5'11 to 5'9 in favor of Trey, and a 72-inch reach to 70-inch reach also in favor of Trey. Both fighters fight orthodox. Trey Ogden, 34 years old, from Kansas City, Missouri. He's had 3 fights in the UFC, but a notable of his 16 professional victories, 11 by submission. Absolutely insane to me. Trey has gone 1-2 in the UFC, lost his debut in April of 2022 to Jordan Leavitt. Split decision, beat Daniel Zalubert in September of 2022, and in his lone fight this year in April, he lost to Ignacio Bahamondes by unanimous decision. Just got outstruck 99-42 in that one. His opponent, though, Nicholas Mota, 30 years of age, 30 years old, he was actually born in Brazil, but now he's moved to Las Vegas. That's his home now. Of his 13 professional victories, 9 by knockout. He trains at Extreme Couture. If no one knows who else trains at Extreme Couture, Sean Strickland, Chris Curtis, Cody Stammen, Brad Tavares. A lot of notable fighters. Your current middleweight champion, Sean Strickland. Nicholas Mota, is that an interesting UFC career, to say the least? I wouldn't necessarily flex about it, but I mean, he won on Season 4 of Dana White's Contender Series in 2020, made his UFC debut in 2022, and got knocked out cold by Jim Miller, the legendary Jim Miller. He would follow that up with a September 2022 knockout punch of Cameron Van Camp, got a huge win there. But in his lone fight of this year, he got knocked out by Manuel Torres with a nasty elbow in 1 minute and 50 seconds in round number 1. This should be a very interesting one, if you ask me. Nicholas Mota hasn't gone to the ground yet in the UFC, and here's a guy in Trey Ogden who's going to want to get it to the ground. I'm going to favor Trey Ogden this one, and I honestly think Trey Ogden could get his first submission victory in the UFC. I've been waiting for that, Trey, if you ask me. But look, Nicholas Mota, no offense, he is just not up to par. The Jim Miller, the Manuel Torres knockouts, they hold a place in my heart just because of how brutal they are. Heading on down to women's bantamweight for our next matchup. We actually have not ranked fighter, but both of these women could be ranked soon. Women's bantamweight matchup between Lucy Pudilova and Aline Fiona Perez. Fiona, interesting nickname. Lucy Pudilova 14-8, Aline Perez 8-2, 5'8 to 5'5 in favor of Lucy Pudilova, and a 67-inch reach to 66, also in favor of Lucy. An orthodox stance for Pudilova and a switch stance for Aline Perez. Aline Perez, I remember her. I remember Aline Perez from her last victory. Now, Aline Perez, 29 years of age. She was born in Argentina, actually, but now resides in Miami. She trains at the Goat Shed. No one who else trains there? Hector Lombard, MMA legend, if you will, notable MMA figure. And Jillian Robertson, current women's strawweight or flyweight, wherever Jillian fights. Aline has 4 KOs and 1 sub of her 8 career victories. She's coming off a dominant win in her her second UFC stint. She originally fought in September of 2022, but got submitted by Stephanie Egger, sadly, in round number 2. But in her last fight out in July, dominated Ashley Evans Smith, landed 10 of 15 takedowns for 11 minutes and 36 seconds of control time. She was absolutely dominant in that. Had a lot of chances to finish, but Aline Perez was such a character. Her opponent, Lucy Pudilova, 29 years old, was actually born in the Czech Republic, but now trains in Dublin, Ireland. That's where she lives as well. 3 KOs and 2 subs of her 14 career victories. Been in the UFC since 2017. It's not been a good stint. Let me just say that she has gone 3-6 in that time, including at one point was on a 4-fight losing streak. Now, I will say, her losses have been to Lena Landsberg, who was a ranked women's bantamweight, wins over Ji-Yeon Kim and Sarah Morris, lost a fight of the night split decision to Irene Aldana in 2018, who last fought for the bantamweight championship. Lost a unanimous decision to Liz Carmouche, got submitted in a fight of the night by Antonia Shevchenko. In 2020, lost to Justine Kish. In August 2022, did pick up a round 2 TKO of Wu Yanan, but last time out in April of this year, she lost a split decision to Jocelyn Edwards. So Lucy, she's been in some tough fights, but I remember Aline Perez from her last fight out, and I'm going to go with Aline Perez by decision. We'll see what happens, though, because quite honestly, I have no faith that this is going to be a banger, if you will, but they could surprise me. Heading into our next matchup on the prelims, a featherweight bout between Jekka Saragi and Lucas the Lion Alexander. Jekka is 13-3, Lucas 8-3, 5'11" to 5'8" in favor of Lucas Alexander, and a 4-inch reach for Lucas Alexander, 73 inches to 69. Both fighters fight orthodox. Both fighters are 28 years old. Lucas Alexander from Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, of his 8 victories, 3 by knockouts. Trains at Fusion XL, actually, with Jacare Souza and notable UFC welterweight, unranked welterweight, Phil Rowe. Lucas lost his UFC debut to Johanderson Brito in 2022, but Johanderson Brito is an absolute killer. Did follow that up with a March win in this year over Steven Peterson. He actually retired Steven Peterson. Lucas, decent fighter, but let me just tell you about Jekka Saragi. I was seeing this guy's highlights. He was on Road to the UFC. He actually won Road to the UFC, his fight, I believe. Or maybe he made it to the finals and lost. I can't even remember. 28 years old, as I mentioned, from Indonesia. Of his 13 victories, 8 by knockout, 4 by sub, has only been the distance once in his career. All right, in both of his Road to UFC matchups in 2022, had 2 knockouts, a round 3 spinning back fist and a round 1 knockout punch. Now, he did lose earlier this year in February. Round 2 TKO loss to Anshul Jubilee, but I don't think that's going to stop Jekka. Okay, we just saw Anshul Jubilee get brutally finished in a fight he shouldn't have against Mike Breeden, but I don't think that's going to stop Jekka here. I think Jekka gets a knockout over Lucas Alexander. We're riding with Jekka Saragi. I like that name. Jekka. How does Jekka Ruger sound for my future son? It doesn't have the same ring to it. Finally, we get some big boy action next as a heavyweight bout between Mick Parkin and Caio Bigfoot Machado. This should be fun. Mick Parkin, a perfect 7-0. Caio Machado, 8-1-1. Only 1 loss and a draw. Both fighters are 6'4". Wow. 79-inch reach to 78-inch reach. Pretty close. Mick Parkin is favored there. Orthodox stance for Mick Parkin. Southpaw for Caio. So Caio's throwing that left punch. Okay. Caio Machado, 29 years old, was born in Sao Paulo, Brazil, but now resides out of Vancouver, Canada. 4 KOs and 2 subs of his 8 victories. He actually beat Kevin Safarski on this past season of Dana White's Contender Series, Episode 1. Outstruck him significantly 121-17. Total strikes 156-18, including an unsurmountable 47-1 significant strike in round 1. Wow, Caio Machado was a striking genius. My goodness. His opponent, though, Mick Parkin, a perfect 7-0, 28 years old from England, 5 KOs and 1 sub of his 7 career victories. So 6 out of 7 fights. Finishes. Impressive. He won on Season 6 of Dana White's Contender Series, got a round 1 rear naked chokehold over Eduardo Neves in under 2 minutes, and did have an interesting debut against Jamal Pogues earlier this year in July, won in his home nation of England, but it was a tough one. Jamal did not make it easy for him, but Mick was able to outstrike him, get it done, and as dominant as it would appear Caio Machado is, I do lean toward Mick Parkin, but there's just something about Caio Machado, boys. There's just something about his name. Caio Machado. I'm liking what I'm hearing. I'm going to go with Caio Machado. I actually think last time I didn't pick Mick Parkin and he won. But man, there's just something about Caio Machado that says pick me. Even though I want to go with Mick, I got to go with Machado. All right, the different M. But you know what? If he comes back and loses, we can all come back and look here and go, hey, you should have went with him, Zach. And I'll go, okay, my bad. Keeping us rolling into the middleweight division, we have a 185-pound matchup between Christian CLD Leroy Duncan Or maybe it's, where do we think the CLD is? His name's Christian Leroy Duncan. Christian CLD Leroy Duncan, or Leroy Duncan CLD, I don't know. He takes on Dennis Tallulin. He was supposed to fight John. Oh no, what? I feel like Dennis Tallulin stepped in on short notice. Christian Leroy Duncan was supposed to fight someone, if I'm not mistaken. We're gonna do some live Google searching on the podcast, because I know for a fact Dennis Tallulin stepped in on short notice. I'm trying to remember why. Who is Christian Leroy Duncan supposed to fight? Oh, he was supposed to fight Cesar Almada. Oh, that would have been such a good fight. Unfortunately, Dennis pulled out. Tough luck. But, no, not Dennis. What's his face? Kyle pulled out. Dennis Tallulin stepped in on short notice. So a big thank you to Dennis Tallulin for keeping Christian Leroy Duncan on the card. Christian, of course, 8-1, a very impressive professional record. Dennis Tallulin, 10-8 with a no contest. 6'2" to 6'1" in favor of Christian Leroy Duncan. 79-inch reach for Christian Leroy. Actually, I'm just going to call him CLD, and we'll call Dennis Tallulin. So 79-inch reach for CLD, 77-inch reach for Tallulin. Switch stance for CLD, and as for Dennis, an orthodox stance. Dennis Tallulin. Where do we begin with this guy? No idea how he's in the UFC. He's kind of bad. 35 years of age. He's from Russia. Of his 10 victories, though, 9 by knockout, so not too bad. He did lose his UFC debut in 2022 to Alishkabab Karizov, who we actually mentioned on the beginning of the episode, but Alishkabab is an absolute killer, so we'll let that slide. In September of 2022, he got a beautiful round 2 knockout of Jamie Pickett, but then in this year, it's been no easy goings. Had to fight Jun Young Park, who submitted him in round 1, and had to fight Gregory Rodriguez last time out in August, who beat him in 1 minute and 43 seconds. It was absolutely brutal. He literally just went to the middle of the octagon, picked Dennis up, slammed him down, and TKO'd him. So, Dennis, I won't lie, a 10-8 record's not impressive, but this is a winnable fight for Dennis, okay? Christian Leroy Duncan, 28 years of age, from Gloucester, England, 6 KOs and 1 submission, so 7 out of 8 of his wins by finish. This will be his 3rd fight of the year, and he fought Dusko Todorovic in March of 2023, so earlier this year, and just under 2 minutes in, Dusko got injured, fight was stopped short, an unfortunate victory for Christian Leroy Duncan in his debut. Then was able to get a full training camp and have a fight in June against Armen Petrosyan, but Armen was able to use his skills, out-kickboxed him, mixed in a takedown. Armen Petrosyan won a unanimous decision over Christian Leroy Duncan, and Christian only won 1 round on 2 of the 3 judges' scorecards. So this is a toss-up for me, because taking the fight on short notice, knowing that Dennis gets finished, I'm not really a big fan. But at the same time, this could feel like a big opportunity for Dennis. This could be make it or break it. We'll see what happens, but I'm going to go with Christian Leroy Duncan. CLD, he's the young gun. Dennis has gotten knocked out, has gotten finished 3 of his 4 UFC fights. The signs point towards what's his face, but yeah, no, we're going Christian Leroy Duncan. I'm not even gonna second guess myself. I know who I'm riding with. All right, what else do we got here? Ooh, we got 2 more prelim fights. This card has shifted around so much. Yes, 2 more prelim fights. All right, bantamweight matchup between Chad the Monster at Hellinger and Jose Lobo Solitario Johnson. Gosh, I love these foreign nicknames. Chad Allen Hellinger, 12-6. Jose, 15-8. 6 feet for Jose Johnson, only 5'6" for Chad. So we have an insane, what is this, 6-inch reach advantage? Yeah, no, 6-inch height advantage for Jose Johnson. Wow. Actually, 7-inch reach advantage for Jose Johnson, 71-64. Both fighters fight orthodox. Wow. That is crazy. Lobo Solitario, Jose Johnson, fought on the Contender Series twice, actually. This kid's 28 years old, from Flint, Michigan. Of his 15 victories, 8 by knockout, 2 by sub. Jose, where do I begin? So, fights Ronnie Lawrence on Dana White's Contender Series in 2020. Loses, gets brutally out-grappled. All right, takes 2 years off. Comes back, gets some wins. Beats Jack Cartwright on Season 6 of Dana White's Contender Series. Not the most impressive. I don't even know if he got a contract. But comes back August of this year. Fights Damon Blackshear and gets twistered in round 1. That's so embarrassing, Jose. I don't even know where to begin. With that, Jose. That's pretty embarrassing. But I still like the height and reach advantage. I like the size advantage for Jose. His opponent, Chad and Hellinger. Also coming from Daniel's Contender Series, he won on Season 5 over Muin Gafurov. Chad is 36 years of age. Lives out of Alberta, Canada as well. 7 KOs and 3 subs. He actually trains at Champions Creed MMA with Hakeem Dawodo, another Canadian UFC fighter. Chad was able to pick up a big win over Jesse Strader in his UFC debut in February of 2022. Got a round 3 knockout punch, but unfortunately lost to Alatenge in September of 2022. Hasn't fought since then. Chad's back. Jose's back. This is a toss-up, guys. It's a real toss-up because I like what I've seen from Chad. I really like what I've seen. Big wins, finishes a lot of guys. But Jose's size is just so appetizing. Just so appetizing. Just how the height is crazy. The reach is crazy. But I don't know. Does Chad mix in takedowns at all? Not really. He likes to keep it on the feet. As for Jose, Jose will take it to the ground. He necessarily hasn't done well there. So this could come down to a striking battle. I don't know how the chin of Jose is. But you know what? We're going to go with Jose Johnson. You know what? I'm sorry, Chad. But I don't know, actually. I'm so torn, guys. This is funny. You hear my internal dialogue expressed through this podcast about who I want to win, who I think will win. And part of me thinks Chad can land a knockout punch, but another part of me thinks Jose Johnson could just keep this at distance and win a decision. You know what? We're going to ride with Chad and Hillinger. You know what? That's the final person I'm picking. And I feel like if I don't pick him and Jose wins, or I feel like if I pick Jose and Chad wins, I'll be more upset than if I were to pick Chad and he loses. If you get what I'm saying. Okay. Let's get into our final prelim of the night. This fight should honestly be like the co-main. This is a very high matchup. I have no idea what's on the prelims, but our final prelim is between Jonathan JSP Pierce and Joanderson Tubabarro Brito in the featherweight division. Jonathan Pierce 14-4, Joanderson Brito 15-3-1. All right, 6 foot to 5'8" in favor of Jonathan Pierce, so 4-inch height advantage, but a 72 to 71-inch reach advantage for Joanderson Brito. Orthodox stance for Joanderson. Jonathan, more of a switch stance type of guy. Jonathan, 31 years of age. He's from Tennessee. 9 KOs and 2 subs of his 14 career victories. He actually trains at Fight Ready MMA with the Korean Zombie, Henry Cejudo, Eric Anders. A lot of notable fighters from there. Jonathan been in the UFC since 2019. He actually won on Season 3 of Daniel's Contender Series. Got a round 3 knockout punch, but then lost his UFC debut to Joe Lazone in 2019. Got TKO'd in round number 1. Since then, yet to lose. A perfect 5-0 since his loss. Finishes of Kai Kamaka, Omar Morales, Makwan Americani. Last beat Darren Elkins in December of 2022. That was a close matchup, though. But Jonathan looked dominant in it. As always, Jonathan Pierce, been on the rise. I've liked what I've seen from him. He's actually had canceled fights against Bryce Mitchell. Bryce Mitchell is currently the number 10 featherweight in the world. So clearly, people think highly of him. But his opponent, Joanderson Brito, is an absolute freaking killer. My goodness. 28 years of age from Sao Paulo, Brazil. Of his 15 career victories, 6 by knockout, 7 by sub. He does not like to go the distance. I actually beat Diego Lopez on Daniel's Contender Series Season 5 in 2021. Diego Lopez, of course, coming off a huge win this past weekend. He then lost his UFC debut to Bill Algeo by unanimous decision, which he took on short notice, by the way. But I won't lie, he was on an 11-fight win streak before Bill Algeo snapped that, so that's pretty brutal. Since then, though, April of 2022, gets a 41-second knockout of Andre Fili. After that, submits Lucas Alexander in 2 minutes. Lucas Alexander also fighting on this card. Oh, I didn't pick him. Okay, awkward. But, yeah, and then he had a big win over Weston Wilson, July 1st, 2023. So last fought in July, under 3-minute knockout there. Joanderson Brito's been on a roll. I know how good Jonathan Pierce is, though. So this is torn. By the way, Jonathan Pierce, a grappler, an outright grappler. Should be interesting. Height for Jonathan, but the reach doesn't even play a factor. They've had a full training camp. All factors there. I'm going to go with Joanderson Brito, but simply because of striking. I think Jonathan might even take him down and control him in round number 1. But I think once Joe Anderson starts touching him, or if he even reverses anything in the top position, Joe Anderson Brito's hands will win him this fight. Other than that, it's a toss-up. Anything could go down, but we're going to ride with Joe Anderson Brito. I was contemplating this one all week. I'm glad it's not on the main card, because if we all know, main card picks are the only official ones. Prelim picks are simply just because I'm a fan of the sport. Let's get our main card kicked off at 6 fights on the main card in the welterweight division between Uros the Dr. Medic, and guys, I just cannot wait till the broadcast team says this, Mike Takabaikbek Orolabi. Myktybek. So Mike Tybek, Orolbai, Orolbai, Orolbai. Okay, at least we can pronounce Uros Medic's name. Uros Medic was supposed to fight Johnny Parsons. That was supposed to be a banger of the fight. Johnny had to pull out, so instead Orolbai steps in on short notice. We thank you, Orolbai. Uros 9-1, Maitek 11-1 with 1. So wow, very impressive record himself. 6'1" for Uros. They don't even have Maitek's stats on any site I've found. 71-inch reach for Uros Medic. Southpaw stands for Euros. We don't know what to expect from Maitek. Maitek, though, is from Kyrgyzstan. All right, 6 KOs and 4 subs of his 11 victories. He's actually riding a 6-fight win streak. I have no idea what to expect from this guy, but from what I've seen, he looks entertaining. He's got a great name, but he's fighting a killer in Uros Medic. There's a reason Uros Medic was supposed to fight Johnny Parsons. Uros was born in Serbia, now lives in Anchorage, Alaska. Of his 9 victories, 7 by knockout, 2 by sub, a 100% finish rate. He's 30 years of age. Uros Medic won on season 4 of Dana White's Contender Series, got a round 1 knockout. Then in March of 2021, won his UFC debut with a round 1 TKO. He suffered his only career loss to Jalen Turner in 2021, got submitted, but Jalen Turner was a killer back then. Since then, May of 2022, round 2 knockout of Omar Morales, and an insane comeback, spinning back elbow KO of Matthew Semmelsberger in July of this year at UFC 291. I've liked everything I've seen from Uros Medic. I'm sorry, Maitek. I really hope you do well. But simply because I don't know what to expect, I gotta go with Uros Medic. I know how good Uros is. Him and Johnny Parsons were going to put on a banger. Sadly, Johnny had to pull out of the fight. But man, I'll be excited for that fight, especially to kick off the main card. I just cannot wait till I see Micah Tykek, whatever, walk out. I'm sorry I've butchered your name so much. I genuinely feel bad that I've been butchering your name. Orolbai, okay? But you know what? I love you. All right, that has to be some consolation, whatever. Let's get to some ranked fighters finally. Women's strawweight bout between some ranked women's strawweights. Number 9, Luiana Pinheiro, and number 10, Amanda Ribas. Actually, Amanda Ribas is also ranked number 9 at women's flyweight, so she's ranked in 2 women's divisions. Luiana Pinheiro 11-1, Amanda Ribas 11-4. 5'3" to 5'2", we got some short women here favoring Amanda Ribas, and a 4-inch reach advantage for Amanda Ribas, 66 to 62. Both women are orthodox stance fighters. Let's talk about Amanda Ribas first. Amanda, 30 years old, from Brazil. Of her 11 victories, 2 by knockout, 4 by sub. It's been an interesting UFC career for Amanda Ribas, to say the least. Debuted in 2019, big rear naked chokehold. She actually then beat Mackenzie Dern in 2019, Randa Marcos 2020, submitted Paige Van Sant on the opening fight of UFC 251 in round number 1, which I think is crazy. By the way, Paige Van Zant's in UFC 5, EA Sports UFC 5. I don't know how. Why is she in the game? She then suffered her first UFC defeat when she got knocked out in round 2 by Marina Rodriguez. Big win over Virna Jandiroba her next time out. Lost the fight of the night in 2022 to Caitlin Chukagian. And earlier this year in March, beat Viviana Rujo. But then in June of this year, got brutally TKO'd by Macy Barber in round number 2. You know, Amanda Ribas, her goal is just to grapple, get you to the ground. And that's her game plan. But she's going to have to work around that against Luiana Pinheiro. Luiana, as we mentioned, 11-1, the number 9 ranked strawweight, 29 years old, also from Brazil, 2 KOs and 5 subs of her 11 victories. She rides a 9-fight win streak. Coming from season 4 in Dana White's Contender Series, where she got a round 1 knockout in under 3 minutes. She then lost her UFC debut by DQ, because Randa Marcos is an absolute cheater. All right. Then in November of 2021, beat Sam Hughes, and she picked up the biggest win of her career when she beat Michelle Warson Gomez earlier this year in April by split decision. Honestly, women's fights are toss-ups. Luiana, she's got the win streak. She's been looking good. Amanda Ribas, I don't know. You looked bad last time out. We're going to go with Luiana Pinheiro. But if Amanda Ribas wins, I just find it hilarious how women go win-loss, seemingly every single fight. But, yeah, this should be a fun one. Next up, we got a bantamweight matchup between two guys who I have no idea who they are. No idea who these fighters are. Between Peyton Talbot and Nick Slick Aguirre. I do like the nickname, Nick. Peyton is undefeated, 6-0. Nick is 7-1, 5'10", 5'9" in favor of Peyton, and a 74 to 70-inch reach in favor of Nick Aguirre, so got 4 inches. Southpaw stance for Nick Aguirre, switch stance for Peyton Talbot. Let's talk about Nick first. All right, Nick, 27 years old, from Oswego, Illinois. It's actually where my some of my cousins live, or maybe they go to school there, went to high school there. I found that pretty fascinating. Of his 7 victories, 3 by knockout, 4 by sub, 100% finish rate. Suffered his first ever defeat professionally against Dan Argueta back in the first event of 2022, January 14th. 2023, not 2022. Lost to Dan Argueta, but since then, just been kind of passing the time. Finally got a fight booked against Peyton Talbot. Peyton's 25 years old from Nevada. He's got 5 KOs of his 6 victories. His only decision win, and the only time he's gone the distance, was against Reyes Cortez Jr. on this past season of Dana White's Contender Series. Racked up an impressive 145 significant strikes. I like what I've seen from Peyton in that fight, but now that it's kind of coming back to me who he is, but this is a toss-up, man. This is a toss-up, and I hate that I have to pick this fight, especially because this fight matters. But, Nick, 100% finish rate. Lost earlier this year. Peyton just picked up a big win. You know what? We're going to give it to Peyton Talbot. Yeah, I don't know what to expect from these guys, but Peyton Talbot, you're my pick. Do not let me down, or I will sue you. I'll be very upset. I'll be angry. I'll be mad or something. I don't know. I'll just write a bad review about you on Yelp or something. Wherever you do business, Peyton. I'll do that. No, I'm just kidding, Peyton. I love you. We'll be rooting for you against Nick Aguirre. Interesting last name. Our final 3 fights of the evening kick off with a lightweight matchup between Chase Hooper, one of the youngest fighters on the active roster, actually youngest of the night, I think it is. He takes on, Chase the Dream Hooper, I should say. He takes on Jordan, my favorite nickname, the Monkey King Leavitt. Jordan Leavitt, you are such a character. I love you. Chase is 12-3-1. Jordan is 11-2, 6'1" to 5'9" in favor of Chase Hooper. So what is that? That is 4 foot reach, 4 foot height advantage, 74 to 71, 3-inch reach advantage for Chase Hooper. Southpaw stance for both men. Jordan Leavitt, 28 years old from Las Vegas, Nevada, 2 KOs and 6 subs of his 11 victories, coming off a big win over Victor Martinez back in February. Got a round 1 TKO, earned a performance bonus. Before that, lost to Paddy Pimblett. That's right, he was the one who got submitted by Paddy Pimblett in July of 2022. Notable fight. Big win over Trey Ogden, who actually fights on the prelims. He's actually gotten an inverted triangle over Matt Sales. Impressive. Only other losses to Claudio Puelles, a good unranked lightweight, and has a 22-second slam finish of Matt Wyman. That's incredible. Jordan Leavitt has had a unique UFC career. His opponent, Chase Hooper, fought on Dana White's Contender Series when he was only 19 years old. Absolutely crazy. Picked up a unanimous decision win there, was able to get a contract, and his UFC debut beat Daniel Temer in December of 2019 in round 1 TKO. Impressive stuff. Suffered his first professional defeat to Alex Caceres, which is not bad to have at all. Got a heel hook in his next fight. Lost to Steven Pearson. Big finish at Felipe Corrales next time out. He's from Washington, the 24-year-old, 4 KOs and 5 subs of his 12 victories. In October of 2022, did get knocked out, did get finished for the first time in his career, but that was by Steve Garcia. Steve is an absolute killer. Might I just add, Steve? The one guy he lost to is currently on a 2-fight win streak, both knockouts. Incredible. But yeah, picked up a dominant win over Nick Fiore last time out in May. He's back, but I'm sorry, Chase. I'm going with Jordan Leavitt. The Monkey King is very talented. I know how good he is. I've seen it. His only losses are to Claudio Puelles and Paddy Pimblett, two very good unranked fighters. And you know what? I think Chase Hooper just needs to keep gaining experience. And he's like 6 years away from his prime. Pretty much fighters reach their prime in their 30s or like when they're 29. So you got some time, buddy. You got some time. Co-main event, one of my favorites of the night. Can't wait for this one. A welterweight matchup between Michael Morales. Michael Morales. I think of Spider-Man. And Jake the Celtic Kid Matthews. Michael Morales, a perfect 15-0. Jake Matthews, 19-6. 6 foot to 5'11". Michael's got the 2-inch height advantage. And a notable 6-inch reach advantage for Michael Morales, 79-73. Both fighters are orthodox stance fighters. Michael Morales, born in Ecuador, now lives in Mexico, only 24 years old. It's crazy looking at him compared to Chase Hooper. If you guys watch the card this weekend, just the difference of 24-year-olds builds, incredible. Like I said, 15-0, 11 knockouts, 1 sub. This guy does not like to mess around. 3-0 in the UFC so far, 1 on Season 5 of Daniel's Contender Series. Got a round 1 knockout of Trevin Giles in his UFC debut, and a round 3 knockout of Adam Fugit in July of 2022. He's had 1 fight this year in July. It was actually on the first UFC event we covered on the podcast, UFC Fight Night Strickland versus Magomedov, where he won a unanimous decision over Max Griffin. His first real test, proved he can handle the pressure. Michael now gets another step up in Jake the Celtic Kid Matthews. Jake from Australia, he's 29 years of age, 29 years old, however you want to phrase it. 5 KOs and 8 subs of his 19 victories. Not too bad. Only been what is this? He joined the UFC when he was 20 years old. All right, he's been fighting in the UFC since he was 20 years old, since 2014. I mean, he's had losses to James Vick, losses to Kevin Lee, wins over Li Jingliang, impressive, wins over Diego Sanchez, lost to Sean Brady, win over Andre Fiallo. I mean, he is coming off a huge win in July. Got a round 2 rear naked chokehold of Darius Flowers. So yeah, Jake Matthews is tough, but we're rooting for Michael Morales in this one. We're picking Michael Morales 15-0. This is just another step up for him. It's very even. I'll say that Michael will probably lean more towards keeping it on the feet. He likes throwing hands. Now, he does have a ground arsenal. Don't get me wrong. But he's also been taken down, so I'm sure Jake Matthews will want to get this to the ground. He won't want to keep it standing. But we'll be rooting for Michael Morales in this one. And if he wins, he might get himself a ranked spot come Tuesday when the rankings update. But just like that, we reach the final fight of the evening. This was a long one, boys. Holy cow. 14 fights. Who knows if they'll all make it past weigh-ins? I mean, as of Thursday night, all the fights are good. But, I mean, stuff changes all the time. So, our main event, middleweight matchup. I mean, it's what we've all been waiting for, honestly. Maybe it is. Maybe it is what you've all been waiting for. Between Brendan All-In Allen and Paul Bear Jew Craig. Love that freaking nickname, Paul. By the way, Brendan is ranked 10 at men's middleweight. Paul Craig ranked 13th. So, a little top 15 action for you here. Brendan, 22-5. Paul Craig, 17-6-1. 6'3" to 6'2" in favor of Paul Craig. 76-inch reach to 75 in favor of Paul Craig. Pretty equal size-wise. Both fighters fight orthodox. Paul Craig, ladies and gentlemen, from Scotland. He's 35 years old. Of his 17 victories, 4 by knockout, 13 by sub. He's only been the distance once in his entire career. And that fight was against Volkan Ozdemir in July of 2022. Since then, all finishes. Actually, he's been twice. He had a draw, but other than that, all finishes. Or maybe that was for his wins. I don't know. Who cares? Paul been doing it in the UFC since 2016. He's fought a who's of guys. He's beaten Magomed Ankalaev. He's lost to Khalil Roundtree. He's beaten Kenny Nchukwu. He's lost to Jimmy Crute. He's lost to Alonzo Menfield. He's beaten Mauricio Rua. He's actually is the only man to ever beat Jamal Hill, your former light heavyweight champion. Beaten Nikita Krylov. Did lose earlier this year in January to Johnny Walker, left the light heavyweight division. Picked up a huge win over Andre Muniz in July of this year. Round 2 performance of the night, TKO. and now finds himself in a main event against Brendan All-In Allen. And Brendan from Louisiana, 27 years old, main event, and gotta feel happy for the kid. 5 KOs and 13 subs of his 22 victories. This guy loves to submit people. Joined the UFC in 2019 after winning on Dana's Contender Series with a rear naked chokehold. In his UFC debut, he submitted Kevin Holland with a rear naked chokehold. TKO'd Tom Breeze next time out, beat Kyle Dawkins, then suffered his first UFC loss to Sean Strickland. Got TKO'd in round 2, being your only loss to the middleweight champion. Not too bad. Then ankle locked Carl Roberson next time out. Beat Punali Soriano. Suffered his second UFC loss to Chris Curtis, round 2 TKO. Unfortunate loss there, but since then, since December 2021, he is yet to lose. In February of 2022, rear naked chokehold over Sam Alvey. Went the distance against Jacob Malkoun, tough one, but on my birthday in 2022, submitted Christoph Joker rear naked chokehold. What did he do in February of 2023 this year? Submitted Andre Muniz with the rear naked chokehold. And if you were to bet all the money in the world, what I'm about to say next, what do you think he did to Bruno Silva in June of this year in round 1, a rear naked chokehold? This guy has 5 rear naked chokehold victories in the UFC. I mean, this guy's an absolute beast. Dominant this year. All right. I did not think he would beat Andre Muniz. I knew he would beat Bruno Silva, and guess what? We're riding with Brendan Allen over Paul Craig. And I'm actually kind of like torn on how confident I am. I'm actually like very confident in Brendan Allen for this matchup. I truly believe Brendan Allen can get this done, truly submit Paul Craig even, or maybe even take him out on the feet. This will be interesting to see where this fight goes. But hey, you know what? I'm all in. I'm all in, just like Brendan Allen's nickname. But should be a good card. Should be a fun one. Let's recap everything. We're going with Rafael Estevam, Trey Ogden, Aling Perez, Jekka Saragai, Kyle Machado, Christian Leroy Duncan, Chad Hellinger, Joe Anderson Brito. Main card, Euros Medic, Luciana Pinheiro, Peyton Talbot, Jordan Levitt, Michael Morales, and Brendan Allen. Those are all my picks for UFC Fight Night, Paul versus Craig, or UFC Vegas 82, if that's be what you will. And with the win over Paul Craig, I mean, whoever wins this, we'll be looking at a top 10 guy next. I know Brendan Allen will be calling for a title shot. That won't be in the cards. I know he's got beef with Hamza Chimaev. You could do that fight next. But this should be a fun one. Should be a fun one this weekend. I should be watching it. Going to be working on a lot of homework this weekend. I have a management paper to write. I'm working on a personal paper to write. I have to review my group mates for a class, review my company for a class, work on a slide for a class. It's just absolutely insane. Just how many essays I got to write. I actually probably have other work to do, but I'll map all that out tomorrow or something. Should be a fun one. Thank you all. Thanks everyone for listening. This was a fun one. It's crazy how long it just adds up. I mean, I'm recording this. I started this at like 6 and it's 9. All right. It's crazy how long of breaks I take at times or just to even like do other stuff. But, it's fun. I always enjoy doing this. Hope everyone has a good weekend. Of course, check out my company, Evergrowing Co. We're short-term, man. It's about to come to an end. It's very sad. This has been a life-changing semester for me. Just loved it so much. Hoist, a beautiful hydration drink. Hit me up for the sponsor. I'm still calling for it. I'll keep calling for it. This was a good one. Reviewed my top 10 TV shows, of course. NFL Week 11 predictions locked in, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for listening, and I hope you come in next time and listen to the Surprise Jab podcast. That did not hit. That ending did not hit as much as I thought it would, but guess what? Have a blessed weekend. I'll catch y'all next time.